catch up. Is it going? Now, how do I get it over here?
We are America, one voice, united we stand.
And to all of the naysayers, and to all of those that would like to destroy the future of the greatest country in the world, our message to them is the same as my grandfather's. Them that's going, get on the wagon. Them that ain't, get out of the way.
Herman Cain. Solutions for a better America.
Anytime.
This is your host, Herman Cain. Thank you for joining us because you know we're going to tell you the truth. Give you the facts because we want you to be better informed to help make this a better United States of America. Thank you for listening to the Herman Cain Show today, and I want to thank those that are joining us live streaming on YouTube or Facebook, a feature that we're going to present each day at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Technology pending, if you know what I mean. And during this section, we will start each day with what we call a better America.
A better America.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people.
Herman Cain's connected, unfiltered perspective every day.
Let's start with something that President Obama has alluded to many times. When he says America is in better shape than it was 8 years ago.
By almost every measure, America is a better, stronger place than it was when we started.
And he alluded to a lot of that last night in his farewell speech. Well, President Obama says during his term last night that expectations were exceeded.
If I had told you 8 years ago that America would reverse a Great Recession, reboot our auto industry, and unleash the longest stretch of job creation in our history, if I had told you that we would open up a new chapter with the Cuban people, shut down Iran's nuclear weapons program without firing a shot, take out the mastermind of 9/11. If I had told you that we would win marriage equality and secure the right to health insurance for another 20 million of our fellow citizens, if I had told you all that, you might have said our sights were set a little too high.
Now, some of the things that President Obama said, folks, are true. But he didn't tell you the whole story. And for the last 8 years, these are the kind of speeches that we have heard from the Obama administration. In other words, I have described it after listening to it last night and listening to this for the last 8 years, that President Obama will highlight the positives, but he will not give you all of the negatives. So you get a distorted picture. It's also evident from the speech last night that President Obama has continued to speak in terms of how he would like to see this country and the world, rather than how it really is. For example, let's look at some of the facts. First, $19.9 trillion, a staggering mountain of debt that President Obama will leave behind. Does that sound like we're better off. As a nation, we're worse off. Because that represents a $9.2 trillion increase while President Obama has been in office. Or look at the economic cost of all of the new federal government regulations finalized since President Obama took office. $870 billion embedded cost in all of the new federal government regulations. Who do you think is going to pay for that? We are, the consumers. But because the costs have been sprinkled throughout the economy, it remains a hidden cost to many people. But he never talks about that. He never talks about that. Because you see, in the eyes of President Obama and many of his liberal supporters, they want to view the world the way they want it to be, and they don't care about the cost to us. Here's one that I know a lot of people probably aren't even aware of. And this was printed in the Washington Post of all liberal papers on the planet. Obamacare's tax hikes that affect the middle class, $377 billion. Sneaker taxes. Well, maybe you just can't see it because the costs are embedded in some ways that it's very difficult for the average person to see. He says that he reversed the Great Recession. Well, I don't know how many of his policies reversed it as much as they spent over $800 billion, which was supposed to be to fund shovel-ready projects. And he had to admit later that there weren't that many shovel-ready projects. That $800 billion was used primarily, folks, for the purpose of rewarding some of his friends in some cities and some states, because it didn't create the jobs that they said it was going to. So yeah, the Great Recession was reversed, but how much of it was due to any specific policies of the Obama administration? And he still says America's a better place than when we started. Well, let's look at some of the facts. If you look at the economy, our GDP growth has barely been 2%. The poverty rate, the number of people in poverty, is up. These are facts. And if you look at the number of people that are employed, even though he says that the unemployment rate has come down, here's what he didn't tell you. He didn't tell you that the reason that the rate has come down is because they changed the calculation of who's counted. And the number of people that have dropped out of the workforce or the ones that are underemployed is at one of the highest rates in decades. And then you have the big one, healthcare. President Obama says our healthcare system is better now than it was 8 years ago.
The uninsured rate has never, ever been lower. Healthcare costs are rising at the slowest rate in 50 years. And I've said, and I mean it, if anyone can put together a plan that is demonstrably better than the improvements we've made to our healthcare system that covers as many people at less cost, I will publicly support it.
Well, all of that is not true. Because they are touting this 20 million people that are supposed to now have health insurance that previously could not have it. But they're not telling about the people that have effectively lost their health insurance because deductibles have been astronomically high, because the health insurance premiums have gone through the roof. They essentially don't have health insurance. But he's not counting those people because they don't even want to measure those numbers. The health insurance exchanges, many of them have gone bankrupt. They've shut them down. In many states, people only have one option to buy health insurance because many of the insurance companies have pulled out. The scam that the insurance companies were working with the federal government didn't work. And the scam was the insurance companies that were supposed to make money, they call it risk corridors, were supposed to pool some of their profits into a pool of money to help those that were going to be struggling, and there wasn't enough profits from the ones that made money to go into the pool. So they were talking, meaning the Democrats were talking about, well, maybe the taxpayer needs to bail out the risk corridors to benefit the insurance companies. No, it is not working. Our healthcare system is not better than it was 8 years ago. Talk to the people who now use the emergency room as a doctor or a facility of first resort rather than a facility of last resort. Talk to many of the people out there that are having to choose between prescriptions and food because of the cost of prescriptions have gone up so much. Talk to the people that are having to choose between health insurance premiums and paying their rent or their mortgage. Much of the pain simply is not being recorded or reported by President Obama and this administration. And so, my farewell to President Obama is farewell to an increasing poverty rate. Farewell to class warfare from the White House. Farewell to a sluggish economy. Farewell to divisive race relations through the lens of the media. Farewell to not telling the American people the complete story. Farewell to sneaker taxes, and yes, farewell to Obamacare. And there's another lie that the Democrats are out there perpetuating about Obamacare, that Paul Ryan says Republicans will work to replace the health care law at the same time it is repealed.
It is our goal to bring it all together concurrently.
But yet the Democrats continue to tell you, President Obama continues to infer that what they have done is a good thing. No, it is not. It is not. And that's why my farewell to President Obama is to say farewell to a lot of failed policies. You're listening to the Herman Cain Show.
Delivering trusted solutions for a better America.
He's telling America what we need to hear and helping to activate everyone in the right direction.
Herman Cain.
For those of you that are watching us on the live stream, thank you. And we're going to do a special at the 11 o'clock Eastern Time hour, and that is we're going to carry Donald Trump's press conference live right here, or you can watch it embedded in at hermancain.com, or you can listen to it here because we will be carrying it on the station, and I will be making comments about some of the questions coming from the reporters, and I anticipate some of the usual stupid questions. And if he finishes before noon, I will also give my analysis of the overall first President-elect Trump's press conference. So stay right there and stay with us. And when we come back, we're going to, oh, I'm on yesterday's show. No wonder this looks funny. What do I have to do? Refresh? Okay. This is was yesterday. Well, that's the shirt you had on yesterday. Where's the refresh? Oh.
Not the company or union officials. What can we do?
The National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation can help. To learn about your rights or ask for free legal aid, contact the foundation toll free at 1-800-336-3600 or go online to www.righttowork.org.
This is the story of Mrs. Clark, who has lived on this very block most of her 80 years, often seen walking to town or serving brownies to the neighborhood kids, and everyone loves her. 2 years ago, a certain family member moved in to look after Mrs. Clark, and that's when everything changed. Mrs. Clark became the victim of elder abuse.
Elder abuse is often closer to home than you think or want to believe. McGruff, the crime dog here, the National Crime Prevention Council wants you to know the signs of elder abuse. Bruises, isolation, reduced activities, poor hygiene, depression, and financial problems. Protect yourself and speak out if you recognize signs of abuse in others.
Elder abuse is a crime that affects over 2 million senior citizens every year. Even more astounding, it's most commonly committed by a family member or someone they trusted. If you suspect abuse, contact your local law enforcement agency. To learn more, go to ncpc.org/seniors. That's ncpc.org/seniors. A message from the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Department of Justice.
Over 5 million people in the United States, many of them older, have a heart condition known as atrial fibrillation, or AFib. I'm Georgia State Senator Nan Orrock. Women in Government urges you to learn the symptoms of AFib: palpitations, trouble breathing, chest pain, dizziness, fainting, or fatigue. Treatment for AFib can return the heart to its normal rhythm and sufferers to active lives. To learn more, visit womeningovernment.org. That's womeningovernment.org.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together.
Do we have it on?
You're in the neighborhood, and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry.
You can continue to try to find it.
There's enough food in this country to feed everybody.
I gotta.
Please
Shandy B.
America.org today. And
Yes, sir.
Might use some of the open mic right here.
Very good. We are 1 minute out.
1 minute out.
The Donald Trump News Conference is in about 30 minutes. You can hear it here on this station.
Okay. What happened? Oh. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
Okay.
That's funny. Okay, good. Thanks, John. Hold on for me, okay? John's making a joke about the Emoji Mountain, or a Monkey Mountain. Really good. Good. This is the Herman Cain Show. What do you want to
All right, about 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Anytime.
Welcome back to the Herman Cain Show. Thank you for joining us today. Coming up at the top of the hour, Donald Trump's press conference. We're going to carry it live right here on this station. Or if you happen to be stationary, you can watch it live embedded at hermancain.com. You'll be able to watch it live. But we're going to stay right here. We're going to carry it here on the station, and I will be making comments as needed, not about things that he might be saying, sometimes maybe that, but also when he gets into Q&A with the press. I'm going to be waiting to see how many stupid questions they're going to dare ask, because I don't think he's going to tolerate a lot of stupid questions. In the meantime, we have a few of your responses to President Obama's farewell speech from some of our open mics. Let's hear them.
I want to wish a farewell to Barry. And Barry, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
So Obama's out there saying the race relations in America are without a doubt the highest and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you got Colin Kaepernick out there saying black people are oppressed, the police are racist. Which one is it?
This guy's in Chicago, and there's no mention of the murder problem over there at all. He has no sympathy towards them. It doesn't exist, apparently. What a joke.
I'm very, very happy that that took place. We're done with that era. We have a new president-elect, President Trump, and we'll have to work hard and together to make America great again.
See, President Obama has tried to set a positive tone from the top, but it's been based upon misleading facts. And a lot of people are seeing through the cloud, through the fogginess that the president has continued to basically feed to the American people. As I've said before, we're not going to save everybody, but we can save the savable. And as I've also said, not all of us are gullible, and not all of us are stupid. You're listening to the Herman Cain Show. Coming up, more of your calls on the Herman Cain Show. Okay. Michael from Oklahoma, you've got a minute on rapid fire.
Hey, Herman Cain, long-time listener here.
Thanks.
Just want to say thank you for all the knowledge and all the advice, your talk show. I was going to comment on the Obamacare,
right?
The Unaffordable Act, or whatever they want to call it. We have the company I work for. We're a fast food chain franchise. We have about roughly around 200 employees. And
I have to put on my glasses.
I did a poll in our company, and not one
person. Am I on YouTube?
Roughly around 200 employees that we have could afford Obamacare. For me alone, was over $1,000 from my insurance, and I'm just thankful that Trump is going to come in and change all that. And I appreciate your talk show giving encouragement, because Democrats
I have to put my glasses on so I can read them.
Telling us that, putting that scare tactic in us. And then I turn your show and you just give us more reassurance that hope is on the way, and I look forward to it.
Well, Michael, I believe it is, because first of all, Donald Trump and Mike Pence, they've indicated that this is the first order of business. How Mike do Pence the questions and the comments come up? The most current ones at the top. About they want to urge Republicans to help them fix Obamacare. That's just code for they want you to stay in the pickle that you're in for a lot longer. So this is the order that they come in. Obamacare. That's like saying they blew up the building with dynamite, our health care insurance system. blew it up with dynamite. And now we're supposed to take the rubble and rebuild the house. You can't do that. You simply can't do it. So I believe that they are going to have something in place a whole lot faster during 2017 that is going to make a whole lot more sense. So hang in there, Michael. I firmly believe that help is on the way. And if it's not, I'll be the first one to hold people accountable. Thanks a lot for the call. John, you've got a minute on rapid fire.
Hey, how's it going, Herman?
It's going fantastic.
I just want to talk to you a little bit about what it's like being an independent contractor and having to deal with Obamacare.
Okay.
Having to go through a healthcare broker because you don't qualify for any sort of subsidy whatsoever is very difficult, especially having an S corporation. Last year I had to pay almost $1,200 a month for insurance for me and my family. And when it came time to actually have an operation for my wife, to go through insurance, I had to pay my full deductible for my wife, which was $5,000 up front. Or if I talked to the doctor, which I did, and I paid cash for the operation, it was magically only $3,800.
Wow.
So it's very frustrating to have this to where to go through insurance, it's way more money. And then I'm having to pay for coverages that I don't want to pay for. And now I just go ahead and pay cash for it, and I get a much better rate.
And a lot of doctors, the reason they have nearly a 20% markup is because of the bureaucracy, the red tape, and the paperwork. That's unfortunate. This is why doctors are saying, we don't want Obamacare. Here's the other thing, here's the other thing, John. Do you know in some areas and some Democrats, they haven't been able to mandate this See, yet. we have They want to allow some doctors to take cash. rapid fire calls running. They want to down force the line. everybody to stay in this disaster
Yeah.
system. So the fact that your doctor
While
allowed you
the
to
radio
do
stations are
that
running commercials,
really is a plus. Because that says
we're running
he cares more
rapid
about
fire
you than he cares about
calls.
Big Brother looking over his shoulders. That sort of thing won't be happening with the Republican alternative. I can assure people. I have talked to many of the members of Congress about the approach. The approach is what some Democrats are trying to blow up, which is why they're trying to say, well, let's try and fix Obamacare. You can't fix Obamacare. Just think about a building that you blew up with dynamite and you got all of this rubble and you're going to try to rebuild it. No, you got to start with a brand new lot, brand new foundation, brand new lumber, brand new bricks, brand new wiring, brand new pipes, everything, and rebuild something that the American people want with the choices they had, plus instead of the choices that were forced down their throats that they really don't like. Thanks a lot for the call. Thank you, Shani B. Didn't know you had that little treasure trove there ready to go.
We had to entertain the streaming audience.
You did. Good job. Good job. I like it. I like it. And we'll be back in about a minute and a half. Thank you, Shani B.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Didn't know you had that little treasure trove.
Oh, I'm confused. I just heard you on your stream.
Oh.
I need to turn that off. That is so freaking confusing.
Tell me about it. Takes a little getting used to. When I come back, I want to do this Talladega College story quickly and then take calls.
You should also do the Talladega story, too.
Talladega. Okay. See.
You spoke there, right?
So what?
You spoke at that college, right?
I did.
Well, they'll be mad if you don't say it right.
Talladega.
Talladega.
Is that how they pronounce it?
Yes.
I was thinking Captain Herb and Talladega.
Add a little
Talladega.
Talladega. I did. I was a commencement speaker there.
Here we go.
Coming back live. Phone calls. Light them up. It's not the, is that the hiccup song? Oh. That was a little bit of a delay.
Anytime.
Welcome back to the Herman Cain Show. Thank you for joining us on this content-filled day. Jeff Sessions is making his rounds in terms of confirmation process. He did extremely well yesterday, in my opinion. They now have Rex Tillerson up there grilling him in one of the committees. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. And at the top of the hour, Donald Trump is supposed to hold his first press conference since getting elected. That should be interesting. And here's something else that's interesting. President Obama was talking about race relations in America have never been better. Really? I don't think so. And one of the reasons I don't think that they are better in some circles is because of things like this. Talladega College. Did I say it correctly?
No, it's Talladega.
Talladega.
No, it's Dega.
You're confusing me.
Every time you say Talladega, I get about 20 phone calls on the office phone.
They prefer Talladega, right? All right.
Talladega.
Talladega. There's a historically black college in Alabama, folks, called Talladega College. They were invited to march in the Trump presidential inaugural parade. Many of their alumni got all upset about this and called the school complaining. The inauguration of a new president, according to President Hawkins of Talladega College, is not a political event, but a civil ceremony celebrating the transfer of power. And he is right. Kudos to college president Billy Hawkins. Why? Because he has issued a statement saying the Talladega College Marching Band is marching in the inaugural parade. And man, oh man, has that started a ruckus among the Trump-hating left. They're going to march. Now, here's the catch. They need our help. They need our support. They have a GoFundMe page. And there's a link on my website, hermancain.com, and the article is entitled, Under Pressure Not to March in Trump's Inaugural Parade, Historically Black College, Talladega College Needs Our Support. And they have a GoFundMe page. I have contributed to it. If you scroll down, you'll see what I contributed. They need our help, folks. So let's help this college that was getting this unnecessary anti-Trump pressure for them not to participate. No wonder a lot of people stay uninformed. They don't want them to be informed. They don't want them to participate. Imagine the learning experience that these young folk are going to experience by going to Washington, D.C. and marching in the parade. Maybe many of them have never been to Washington, D.C. But yet, because of this nasty anti-Trump sentiment, they didn't want them to go. And so my hat's off to President Billy Hawkins of Talladega College for saying the band is marching. 877-310-2100. 877-310-2100 on the Herman Cain Show. Hello, Amy from Oklahoma. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Herman. Thank you for having me on.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about the healthcare system.
Okay.
Because our family is a middle-class family, and being in Oklahoma, we've personally experienced really the significant cost increase in the marketplace plans that are offered.
Yes.
And going from 2016 to 2017, the rates nearly doubled for our family.
Wow.
And it became so cost ineffective for us to continue with health insurance that we had to look into other options. Because not only did our premiums go up, I mean, just for our family, the deductible, was $6,000 to $7,000 before we could even get the insurance company to pay any of our bills.
Now, so you're saying,
And
so wait a minute, and I'll let you go on. So you're saying that when President Obama says our healthcare system is better now than it was 8 years ago, you're saying it's not for you and your family.
no, it has been terrible. You know, we are self-employed,
Yes.
and my husband also works part-time in the medical field. And, you know, back about 4 years ago, his company dropped coverage for part-time employees.
Right.
And that was due to some of the issues with Obamacare
Right.
and the cost. And so we had to start looking elsewhere. The first year, we actually went directly to an insurer and purchased our own plans.
Right.
But the next year, we had to go through the marketplace. And, you know, it is just, it's a terrible process, first of all, just because the applications,
Yes.
in order for us to receive any part of a subsidy or to find out, we would enter all of our information on our family. And, you know, it is such a poorly designed system that it would kick us back at an answer saying, no, you don't qualify. But if you look at, like, how much we make, and we have 4 children, we should have qualified.
Right.
When we called in for help, they actually told us, just delete that application and resubmit it, because sometimes you get a different answer.
Unreal. Well, here's, Amy, here's the encouragement to you and a lot of other people. And this is coming from House Speaker Paul Ryan. He says that the goal is to have a replacement for the health care law ready at the same time it is repealed.
We already showed people what we believe in, what Obamacare should be replaced with. So we're going to use every tool at our disposal through legislation, through regulation, to replace concurrent along with repeal so that we can save people from this mess.
And it is a mess. So, Amy, thank you for sharing the mess that it has put you in, unfortunately.
Well, Herman, we did discover another option.
Yeah.
This year, we did not go through the marketplace.
Yeah.
And we discovered a Christian cost-sharing plan called Samaritan Ministries. And that is actually what my family is doing right now, where each month we send in our monthly share. And all of the members across the country send in an amount. And when people have needs or claims, they send those in to the company. And you pay a portion of another person's medical bills.
Right. But it's a pooling concept.
It is.
Right. Now, what's the name? I had heard of that before. What did you say the name of it is again?
This one is called Samaritan Ministries.
Okay. We're going to have Jared look that up and share that information with people, because I've heard that that has been an option that a lot of people have been taking advantage of. Thank you, Amy. See, now, a setup like that, folks, does not go against what the Republicans want to do. So you don't have to worry about it. If it's working for you and it is based upon you making the choice, they're not going to destroy that kind of stuff. It's all of this stuff that's embedded in Obamacare and how it has turned everything upside down. That's what's going to change, and it's going to change simultaneously with putting in something new. Don't believe the lie that the Democrats keep telling you that the Republicans don't have an alternative. They started with an alternative back in 2010. It was introduced by Representative Tom Price, Health and Human Services Secretary-elect Tom Price. And yes, they may be tweaking with it or making some changes in it, given the mess that we have today, but they do have an alternative plan. John, welcome to the Herman Cain Show. What's on your mind today?
Amen. It's a pleasure to speak with you, Herman.
Thank you, sir.
You continue the mission and keep waking up the walking dead out there. But I have a problem with the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
Ever since it's come into play, and I've heard numbers off the Democrats, some off the Republicans, but basically what I heard was 30 million Americans didn't have health care.
Right.
Now, there's roughly 300 million Americans
right.
in the United States.
Yes.
So that's 1%, right?
Yep.
So they changed 1/5 of our economy, which is a pretty large sum for 1% of our population.
Right.
I just can't get over that. I don't think anybody's ever raised a point. I've never heard it, but if they have, good on them. But it's just something that doesn't make sense to me.
It's worse than that. When President Obama and the Democrats were trying to sell the idea of Obamacare. They said that 40 million people were uninsured. 40 million. They roll out Obamacare, and then they are now claiming that half of those 20 million, I mean, these are numbers that I do not trust, are now covered. So 20 million people is less than 1% of the entire population, as you say. So why did you need to blow up the whole system in order to take care of the 20% that didn't have it, or people with pre-existing conditions? This is one of the things they kept selling it on. They wanted people to believe that 50% of the American people had pre-existing conditions. No, they didn't. So those numbers are bogus, and you are absolutely right. The reason you can't get your head around it is because they are not right. They are not logical. They are not rational. Now, they could have, but they didn't want to because they wanted government control to control it. They could have put together a government subsidized risk pool for people who had these special challenges relative to health care. But, John, they didn't do it. Why? Because President Obama and the Democrats have wanted to control our health care system for decades. And when they had control of the White House, Obama's first 2 years, and they controlled the House and the Senate, they saw it as their opportunity to shove it down the throats of the American people. And you're right. The numbers that they throw around now, most of them cannot be verified. Thanks a lot for the call. 877-310-2100. Chris, we got time for one more. Chris, welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Shucky ducky, Mr. Cain.
Shucky ducky, back at you.
So I like to think of myself as a reasonably intelligent Republican.
Okay.
A converted Republican, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I used to be Democrat a long time ago.
Right.
And I can't believe that it took me as long as it has to make a realization, and it was listening to Obama's speech last night.
Right.
I no longer blame the Democrats for the whole not my president thing and ranting and raving. It's called Stockholm Syndrome.
I've heard of that before. I've heard of it. I can't explain it, but I've heard of it. It's something like
they're sympathizing with their captor.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yes. Sympathizing with their captor. Sympathizing with the one who sold them a bill of goods. And
talking about the ACA healthcare thing, it's gone to the point now. I am married and I have a beautiful 1.5-year-old daughter.
Right.
I myself have to weigh on a monthly basis whether I can pay my insurance or pay my mortgage.
Wow. How old are you, Chris?
I am 41.
See, it shouldn't be that way. And that's that's exactly
before the whole ACA,
yeah.
I had insurance, no problem. My wife had insurance, no problem.
Yep.
Thankfully, my wife is a veteran.
Gotcha.
She's a disabled veteran. She gets health care through the VA system, and my daughter's covered. But through work and stuff like that, I have a plan that either I can have insurance this month or I don't have insurance this month.
Well, I got to tell you, Chris, hang in there. The Republicans, Donald Trump, they are going to make this their top priority. They've already said it. So hang in there, and there might be some even better options for you down the road. But thanks for sharing your story. You're listening to the Herman Cain Show.
Credible, experienced, engaging. Herman Cain.
He keeps it real.
He gives it to you as it is.
Daily solutions for a better America.
Phew, sure hope this press conference comes off on time. Good job, Shandy B, following along.
Yeah, that was good. I like the sound with the callers and all that.
Yep.
Our buddy Skyler over at KRMG in Tulsa emailed me a produced piece he put together of open mics, and it is very entertaining, and I say we rejoin with it.
Okay. How long is it?
About a minute and a half.
Let's do it. We got time, right?
He did a good job on it. Yeah, okay. We're going to use it coming back because it's got music and all the stuff.
Great. Do it.
And we'll thank Skylar at KRMG. Give him a little shout out. He's a good dude.
Okay. Is that like, write that down, Herman?
I'll put it up on the screen.
I'll write it down.
I just need to make sure. Let's see.
I got so many papers flying around here. Can't keep track of them. So for those of you watching me do the show live stream, this is an example of what I have to work with to make it sound seamless, to make it appear all connected and together. These are my show notes, okay? Now let's get more specific. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 documents that I have to sort of make chicken salad out of.
There's not really a lot of music. It'll just be
So what?
A couple seconds of music and then open mic. So just a little heads up if you play something.
So even though I might make it look seamless, it's not so seamless. But we have fun with it. And let me say again that I couldn't pull it off without my team, Shana B., Ashley, Jared, and Lisa. And now Melanie, because she's the one who has to sit and keep her fingers crossed as to whether or not the live stream is going to work the entire time. And we are going to do an extra hour of the live stream, folks. Don't forget, for the Donald Trump press conference, assuming that it starts on time. If it doesn't start on time, what do they say in the entertainment business? Herman will have to tap dance. Not literally. Jared, I hear you laughing.
That would be funny to see you tap.
But figuratively, not literally, I'll have to tap dance. But hey, I did a 3-hour show for 4 years, so we got plenty of material that we can talk about. That's not a problem. Remember, 11 documents. Is that what?
CBS Radio Networks, Channel 40.
Oh, I guess I should come off the screen.
All right. Scholar from KRMG, you said.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I see it now.
All right, back in about 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Oh, they have, I may have mentioned to you all before, I have 2 monitors here in my studio. It looks like they are.
Don't let the door hit you in the booty. Bye-bye.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more.
Hit the road, Jack.
Barack Obama did just what he said he would do. He has fundamentally changed America, but not for the good. So I'd say to him, thank God that America has survived. I'm glad for an incoming president that's actually on our team.
As a former president, your words will weigh a ton when used. I would appreciate it if you would not drop a ton of bricks on the rest of us.
Farewell message to Obama. Bye, Felicia.
Obama, please, just shut up and leave. You're done.
To quote Dirty Harry, you're a legend in your own mind.
Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye.
Thanks for nothing, Barack Obama. We elected you for hope, and all you gave us was dope.
No, you can't. No, you didn't.
You know, I have to see later instigator.
If it will get him going a little faster, I'll be glad to load the U-Haul truck for Obama.
Hey, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Goodbye, good luck.
To Obama, I say goodbye, good riddance to the most divisive president in our lifetime. He could have been a unifier, but he chose a different road.
How do you all really feel? That was some of our open mic responses from some of our listeners out of Tulsa, and we want to thank Skylar Cooper for putting that little montage together. It's not intended to be mean, folks, but as one of the callers said, we have survived 8 years of this president and his administration, and people started to see through the fogginess and the deception. And so, yes, that's why people are excited about a President-elect Trump, because tone from the top means everything. Coming up, it looks like they're getting ready for the press conference, folks. We're going to bring it to you live right here. Don't go away. And I turned it on. Oh, you reposting that hour? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Or should we separate the 2 hours? We don't really need to, do it. Oh, got it. No. Don't want them to do that. How many people do we have watching? Can you tell? Okay. Alrighty. Watching these senators make their 15 minutes of fame speech, folks, during these confirmations, not real interesting. So let's just hope that this press conference gets going where that should be much more interesting than some of these confirmation speeches that they're given to drag it out. And it looks like Fox News has already cut away in anticipation of the press conference. Or, correction, they're calling it a news conference instead of a press conference. Whoopee. Who's talking? So you got several things going on simultaneously. They're getting ready for the news conference, and the confirmation hearings of Rex Tillerson are still going on in the United States Senate. So there should be quite a few things later today that the media should be reporting on. Let's hope they report on it accurately? That's the question.
Okay, you there, Herman?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm just kind of monitoring. We may start the hour as a regular show.
Okay.
Once I give you, just keep an eye on your screen.
All right. The monitor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll use the breaking news sounder and go right in and just leave it up.
Okay. Now, will I be able to talk down the line like you told me to? Okay.
Yeah.
So, to those of you that are watching it on live streaming, you'll be able to hear the press conference and me at the same time. I won't be talking over him, but making some editorial comments as we go along. Shane B told me to do that. I just do what Shane B tells me to do. And if we start the show, Shani B,
I'm listening. Yeah.
May set it up with some of the audio that we have from today's audio sheet. I got to find it. And quite frankly, I'm tired of talking about Obama's farewell. Enough of that. I might go to Paul Ryan's statements on Obamacare. And over on Fox News, the news anchors are doing what news anchors do, tap dancing. It was supposed to start at 11 o'clock, and sometimes it doesn't always start exactly on time. So they are doing their version of tap dancing.
Why don't you do some tap dancing for us?
And then in about another 3 minutes, I'm going to have to tap dance. But I will not tap dance before it's time. See, we have some real tap dancing music, folks. Would y'all believe those are my feet? Go, feet, go.
We used to play that for Jay Carney when he was the White House press secretary.
That's right. Jay Carney would come out and we says, okay, get out the tap dancing music. Because you knew it was going to be filled with a lot of tap dancing, skirting the truth, answering questions without answering questions. We saw a lot of that. I may actually have to put my glasses on to see all of this stuff. And you know, something occurred to me about the live streaming. I don't think we have to worry too much about what people are going to occupy themselves with, because they're probably multitasking to begin with.
30 seconds.
Yeah. 30 seconds, and then I'm going to have to start tap dancing. This is what we call making chicken salad without starting with chicken parts.
We are America. One voice, united we stand.
Saving the greatest country in the world is not a short-term proposition, folks. We can save this great nation, but it's going to take all of us. Why? Because we are America.
Herman Cain. Herman Cain. Solutions for a better America.
Anytime.
This is your host, Herman Cain. Thank you for joining us, because you know we're going to tell you the truth. Give you the facts, because we want you to be better informed and inspired to help make this a better, united States of America. Thank you for joining us for this special hour. We are also awaiting the start of the President-elect Trump press conference. And as it has been discussed many times, one of the biggest issues on the minds of Americans relative to this new administration is Obamacare, repealing and replacing it. I don't know how much Donald Trump is going to get into it, but the good news is Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, has already teed it up and has made it real clear that that will be a top priority. He says Republicans will work to replace the health care law at the same time it is repealed.
It is our goal to bring it all together concurrently.
And he goes on to say that the goal is to have a replacement for the health care bill ready at the same time it is repealed.
We already showed people what we believe in, what Obamacare should be replaced with. So we're going to use every tool at our disposal through legislation, through regulation, to replace concurrent along with repeal so that we can save people from this mess.
And that is good news. They realize that there's going to be some transition. They realize that they're going to have to do some things to save people from this mess, but they're not going to just pull the rug out from under them. And he also says that the legislative process will probably require follow-up health care bills also.
We will pass as much as we can through whatever vehicle we've got, and then we'll pass all the other things through regular order outside of reconciliation that show you the full scope of what a real replacement effort looks like.
And so as the Democrats continue to try to discourage Americans about this whole process, Republicans are trying to encourage people that they understand that there need to be some major changes, starting with eliminating the mandate, eliminating the penalties, and providing some real options for people that they can afford. We received a couple of phone calls earlier today on the Herman Cain radio show where one guy mentioned that they have to make hard decisions almost on a monthly basis. Do they pay their health insurance where the costs have gone up dramatically? Or do they pay the mortgage? People shouldn't be put in that condition. And if you go all the way back to the time before Obamacare was shoved down our throats, people were fine with their options, and they had many options that they could choose from, that they could afford. But some of the requirements of Obamacare have helped to drive up the costs, even though President Obama likes to basically brag about the fact that premiums are going up at one of the slowest paces in history. How are we supposed to know that? We don't know that. That's a claim that would be difficult for a lot of people to be able to justify. All I know is the direct feedback that I continue to get from people who call this show or people that I run into about how their deductibles have gone up so high that they essentially do not have health insurance, or their insurance premiums have gone up so high that they effectively do not have health insurance. And so that's definitely going to be one of the big items. Secondly, one of the things that I expect from this press conference, and I think a lot of people rightly so, is that Donald Trump will address some of the false stories that have been out there recently. He may even address this whole Russian interfering in our political system thing. And maybe he will address some of the other false stories that have been put out there that even some people in the media admit that they can't back it up, but they put it out there and print it anyway. So I would anticipate that there could possibly also be a little bit of tongue lashing toward the media for acting irresponsibly. We'll have to wait and find out. And I keep looking over my right shoulder, folks, is because I'm watching the monitor, such that when President-elect Trump gets to the microphone and the podium, we'll be able to bring it to you live as it gets started. And hopefully we'll be able to bring you some analysis of it after the press conference. But if the press conference goes longer, and it's going to be brought to you live right here in its entirety, then I'll bring you my analysis and give you my analysis of it tomorrow on the Herman Cain Show. But in the meantime, don't forget to go to hermancain.com. Why? Because we have a plethora of commentary there for you to read so you know what the truth is. You can also watch the press conference live that'll be embedded on the website, as well as you've got links to Cain 24/7 on your cell phone, or you can listen live to this program on your cell phone. You can watch it live on your cell phone. We have a link that'll take you to YouTube. So there are absolutely no excuses for not staying informed. And when I was sharing this with my friends yesterday at lunch, they said, right, just what I needed to not be able to get away from Herman Cain. Looks like Mr. Trump is approaching the podium, folks. The press conference is going to start shortly, I presume, based upon them getting ready for him to take the microphone. He is there. Someone is speaking, and I think introducing him. And when he takes to the microphone, we will let you hear it live for yourself, as we will also be listening. Also happening now is Donald Trump's choice for Secretary of State. Rex Tillerson says it's a fair assumption Russian President Vladimir Putin knew about Moscow's meddling in America's 2016 presidential election. He's telling the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that he's not privy to the detailed intelligence about Russia's hacking, but he says he read the declassified report released last week about Russia's interference. So that's going on right now. And the committee's top Democrat, with respect to this whole thing, says that the ExxonMobil CEO should make clear how he plans to pivot from the mindset of oil man to that of the nation's top diplomat. Let me tell you something about a good CEO. That will not be a problem for him. That will not be a problem for him, because he wouldn't be CEO if he didn't have some of the abilities that he's had to use in order to go from the ranks of ExxonMobil all the way to the top. And so at this particular time, someone is giving some remarks. Don't know how long that's going to go, but come on, folks, get on with it. We want the press conference. That's what many of us are waiting on. And I don't even know who that is that's out there speaking, Shane, to be.
I don't either.
I don't know who that is that's out there speaking. When
He's
Trump,
rather long-winded, I will
He
say
is
that.
rather long-winded, and Donald Trump is standing off to the side with, it looks like, one of his sons, both of his sons, and with his daughter. So his family members are there, but he's waiting to take to the microphone. Now, this long-winded person that we don't even know who it is really cramping our style. Wait.
Mike Pence is taking the podium here in just a minute. You want to join this?
Yes. So maybe that's
right,
it. Yep.
Right now speaking is Sean Spicer.
Sean
the inauguration
Spicer
of the 45th President of the United States of America.
Yes.
All right, I have you
I'm
down.
profoundly
Okay.
honored and humbled that I will take the oath of office to serve as Vice President of the United States 9 days from today, but I'm even more honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with a new president who will make America great again.
Don't expect a big
Now,
applause. Those are reporters.
The president-elect's leadership and his energy during the campaign was impressive. But as the chairman of the transition effort, I can assure the American people that his energy and his vision during the course of this transition has been even more inspiring. To see the way he has brought together men and women of extraordinary capability at a historic pace in this cabinet. 19 of the 21 cabinet officials have been announced. 9 committee hearings already scheduled, 7 more soon to go on the books in the next several days. And it is a compilation of men and women with an unprecedented caliber of leadership and background to help this administration move our nation forward. Perhaps that's why there's been such a concerted effort by some in the mainstream media to delegitimize this election and to demean our incoming administration. You know, I have long been a supporter of a free and independent press, and I always will be. But with freedom comes responsibility. And the irresponsible decision of a few news organizations to run with a false and unsubstantiated report when most news organizations resisted the temptation to propagate this fake news can only be attributed to media bias, an attempt to demean the president-elect and our incoming administration, and the American people are sick and tired of it.
He's talking to the ones that are responsible for it. That's why they are
But
not
today,
applauding real loud.
We'll get back to real news.
Reporters.
To real facts. And the real progress our incoming president has already made in reviving the American economy and assembling a team that will make America great again. And we'll hear from the president-elect about issues that are of paramount importance to the American people today. So it is my honor to introduce to all of you my friend and the president-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. It's very familiar territory, news conferences, because we used to give them on a almost daily basis. I think we probably maybe won the nomination because of news conferences, and it's good to be with you. We stopped giving them because we were getting quite a bit of inaccurate news, but I do have to say that, and I must say that I want to thank a lot of the news organizations here today, because they looked at that nonsense that was released by maybe the intelligence agencies. Who knows? But maybe the intelligence agencies, which would be a tremendous blot on their record if they in fact did that. A tremendous blot. Because a thing like that should have never been written, it should never have been had, and it should certainly never have been released. But I want to thank a lot of the news organizations, for some of whom have not treated me very well over the years, a couple in particular, and they came out so strongly against that fake news and the fact that it was written about by primarily one group and one television station. So I just want to compliment many of the people in the room. I have great respect for the news and great respect for freedom of the press and all of that, but I will tell you there were some news organizations, with all that was just said, that were so professional, so incredibly professional, that I've just gone up a notch as to what I think of you, okay? All right. We've had some great news over the last couple of weeks. I've been quite active, I guess you could say, in an economic way for the country. A lot of car companies are going to be moving in. We have other companies. Big news is going to be announced over the next couple of weeks about companies that are going to be building in the Midwest. You saw yesterday Fiat, Chrysler, big factory going to be built in this country as opposed to another country. Ford just announced that they stopped plans for a billion-dollar plant in Mexico, and they're going to be moving into Michigan and expanding very substantially an existing plant. I appreciate that from Ford. I appreciate it very much from Fiat Chrysler. I hope that General Motors will be following, and I think they will be. I think a lot of people will be following. I think a lot of industries are going to be coming back. We have to get our drug industry coming back. Our drug industry has been disastrous. They're leaving left and right. They supply our drugs, but they don't make them here to a large extent. And the other thing we have to do is create new bidding procedures for the drug industry because they're getting away with murder. Pharma has a lot of lobbies, a lot of lobbyists, and a lot of power. And there's very little bidding on drugs. We're the largest buyer of drugs in the world, and yet we don't bid properly. And we're going to start bidding, and we're going to save billions of dollars over a period of time. And we're going to do that with a lot of other industries. I'm very much involved with the generals and admirals on the airplane, the F-35. You've been reading about it. And it's way, way behind schedule and many, many billions of dollars over budget. I don't like that. And the admirals have been fantastic. The generals have been fantastic. I've really gotten to know them well. And we're going to do some big things on the F-35 program and perhaps the F-18 program. And we're going to get those costs way down, and we're going to get the plane to be even better, and we're going to have some competition, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. So we've been very, very much involved, and other things. We had Jack Ma. We had so many incredible people coming here. Mr. Arnault. They're going to do tremendous things in this country. And they're very excited. And I will say, if the election didn't turn out the way it turned out, they would not be here. They would not be in my office. They would not be in anybody else's office. They'd be building and doing things in other countries. So there's a great spirit going on right now, a spirit that many people have told me they've never seen before, ever. We're going to create jobs. I said that I will be the greatest jobs producer that God ever created. And I mean that. I'm going to work very hard on that. We need certain amounts of other things, including a little bit of luck. But I think we're going to do a real job. And I'm very proud of what we've done, and we haven't even gotten there yet. I look very much forward to the inauguration. It's going to be a beautiful event. We have great talent, tremendous talent. And we have all of the bands, or most of the bands, from the different segments of the military. And I've heard some of these bands over the years. They're incredible. We're going to have a very, very elegant day. The 20th is going to be something that will be very, very special, very beautiful. And I think we're going to have massive crowds because we have a movement. It's a movement like the world has never seen before. It's a movement that a lot of people didn't expect. And even the polls, although some of them did get it right, but many of them didn't. And that was a beautiful scene on November 8th. As those states started to pour in. And we focused very hard on those states, and they really reciprocated. And those states are going to have a lot of jobs, and they're going to have a lot of security. They're going to have a lot of good news for their veterans. And by the way, speaking of veterans, I appointed today the head secretary of the Veterans Administration, David Shulkin. And we'll do a news release in a little while, tell you about David. He's fantastic. He's fantastic. He will do a truly great job. One of the commitments I made is that we're going to straighten out a minor early stage form of cancer, and they can't see a doctor. By the time they get to the doctor, they're terminal. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So David is going to do a fantastic job. We're going to be talking to a few people also to help David. And we have some of the great hospitals of the world going to align themselves with us on the Veterans Administration, like the Cleveland Clinic, like the Mayo Clinic, a few more that we have, and we're going to set up a group. These are hospitals that have been the top of the line, the absolute top of the line. And they're going to get together with their
David's last name
great doctors.
On your screen,
Dr. Toby Cosgrove, as you know, from the Cleveland Clinic, has been very involved.
David Shulkin
has been very, very involved, one of the great men of business. And we're going to straighten out the VA for our veterans. I've been promising that for a long time. and something I feel very, very strongly. So you'll get the information on David, and I think you'll be very impressed with the job he does. We looked long and hard. We interviewed at least 100 people. Wow. Some good, some not so good, but we had a lot of talent, and we think this selection will be something that will, with time, straighten it out, and straighten it out for good, because our veterans have been treated very unfairly. Okay, questions? Yes, John? Thank you. Sure.
Like many of you, I can't
Okay, first of all,
hear a lot
these
of the
meetings,
questions.
as you know, are confidential, classified, so I'm not allowed to talk about what went on in a meeting. But we had many witnesses in that meeting, many of them with us. And I will say again, I think it's a disgrace that information would be let out. I saw the information, I read the information outside of that meeting. It's all fake news, it's phony stuff. It didn't happen. And it was gotten by opponents of ours, as you know, because you reported it, and so did many of the other people. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together. So I will tell you that not within the meeting, but outside of the meeting, somebody released it. It should never have been, number one, shouldn't have even entered paper, but it should never have been released. But I read what was released, and I think it's a disgrace. I think it's an absolute disgrace. As far as hacking, I think it was Russia, but I think we also get hacked by other countries and other people. And I can say that, you know, when we lost 22 million names and everything else that was hacked recently, they didn't make a big deal out of that. That was something that was extraordinary. That was probably China. We have much hacking going on, and one of the things we're going to do, we have some of the greatest computer minds anywhere in the world that we've assembled. You saw just a sample of it 2 weeks ago up here, where we had the 6 top people in the world. They were never in the same room together as a group. And we're going to put those minds together, and we're going to form a defense. And I have to say this also. The Democratic National Committee was totally open to be hacked. They did a very poor job. They could have had hacking defense, which we had. And I will give Reince Priebus credit, because when Reince saw what was happening in the world and with this country, he went out and went to various firms and ordered a very, very strong hacking defense. And they tried to hack the Republican National Committee, and they were unable to break through. We have to do that for our country. It's very important. Well, you know, President Putin and Russia put out a statement today that this fake news was indeed fake news. They said it totally never happened. Now, somebody would say, oh, of course he's going to say that. I respected the fact that he said that. And I'll be honest, I think if he did have something, they would have released it. They would have been glad to release it. I think, frankly, had they broken into the Republican National Committee, I think they would have released it, just like they did about Hillary and all of the horrible things that her people, like Mr. Podesta, said about her. I mean, what he said about her was horrible. If somebody said about me what Podesta said about Hillary, I was the boss, I would have fired him immediately, or that person, because what he said about her was horrible. But remember this, we talk about the hacking, and hacking's bad, and it shouldn't be done. But look at the things that were hacked. Look at what was learned from that hacking. That Hillary Clinton got the questions to the debate and didn't report it? That's a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing. Can you imagine that if Donald Trump got the questions to the debate, it would have been the biggest story in the history of stories. And they would have said, immediately you have to get out of the race. Nobody even talked about it. It's a very terrible thing. Yeah. Well, if Putin likes Donald Trump, I consider that an asset, not a liability, because we have a horrible relationship with Russia. Russia can help us fight ISIS, which, by the way, is number one tricky. I mean, if you look, this administration created ISIS by leaving at the wrong time. The void was created, ISIS was formed. If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do, but there's a good chance I won't. And if I don't, do you honestly believe that Hillary would be tougher on Putin than me? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Give me a break. Okay. No, I didn't. Well, let me tell you. Yeah. Let me just tell you what I do. When I leave our country, I'm a very high-profile person, would you say? I am extremely careful. I'm surrounded by bodyguards. I'm surrounded by people. And I always tell them, anywhere, but I always tell them, if I'm leaving this country, be very careful, because in your hotel rooms, and no matter where you go, you're going to probably have cameras. I'm not referring just to Russia, but I would certainly put them in that category. And number one, I hope you're going to be good anyway. But in those rooms, you have cameras in the strangest places. Cameras that are so small with modern technology, you can't see them and you won't know. You better be careful, or you'll be watching yourself on nightly television. I tell this to people all the time. I was in Russia years ago with the Miss Universe contest, which did very well. Moscow, the Moscow area, did very, very well. And I told many people, be careful, because you don't want to see yourself on television. Cameras all over the place. And again, not just Russia, all over. Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
They are still on this hacking and this
So
Russia
I tweeted
crap.
out that I have no dealings with Russia. I have no deals in Russia. I have no deals that could happen in Russia because we've stayed away. And I have no loans with Russia. As a real estate developer, I have very, very little debt.
Write that down,
I have assets
Shana B.
that are, and now people have found out how big the company is. I have very little debt. I have very low debt. But I have no loans with Russia at all. And I thought that was important to put out. I certify that. So I have no deals. I have no loans. And I have no dealings. We could make deals in Russia very easily if we wanted to. I just don't want to because I think that would be a conflict. So I have no loans, no dealings, and no current pending deals. Now, I have to say one other thing. Over the weekend, I was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai with a very, very, very amazing man, a great, great developer from the Middle East, Hussein Damak, a friend of mine, great guy, and was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai, number of deals. And I turned it down. I didn't have to turn it down because, as you know, I have a no conflict situation because I'm president, which is, I didn't know about that until about 3 months ago, but it's a nice thing to have. But I don't want to take advantage of something. I have something that others don't have. Vice President Pence also has it. I don't think he'll need it. I have a feeling he's not going to need it. But I have a no conflict of interest provision as president. It was many, many years old. This is for presidents because they don't want presidents getting, I understand, they don't want presidents getting tangled up in minutiae. They want a president to run the country. So I could actually run my business. I could actually run my business and run government at the same time. I don't like the way that looks, but I would be able to do that if I wanted to. I'd be the only one that would be able to do that. You can't do that in any other capacity. But as a president, I could run the Trump Organization, great, great company, and I could run the company, the country. I do a very good job, but I don't want to do that. Now, all of these papers that you see here, yes, go ahead, Haley. Sure. Well, I'm not releasing the tax returns because, as you know, they're under audit. Oh, gee, I've never heard that. Oh, gee, I've never heard that. I've never heard that before. You know, the only one that cares about my tax returns are the reporters. Okay, they're the only ones. But no, I don't think so. I won. I mean, I became president. No, I don't think they care at all. I don't think they care at all. I think you care. I think you care. First of all, you learn very little from a tax return. What you should do is go down to federal elections and take a look at the numbers. And actually, people have learned a lot about my company, and now they realize my company is much bigger, much more powerful than they ever thought. We're in many, many countries, and I'm very proud of it. And what I'm going to be doing is my two sons, who are right here, Don and Eric, are going to be running the company. They are going to be running it in a very professional manner. They're not going to discuss it with me. Again, I don't have to do this. They're not going to discuss it with me. And with that, I'm going to bring up Sherry Dillon, and she's going to go, these papers are just some of the many documents that I've signed, turning over complete and total control to my sons.
Good morning. It's my honor and privilege to be here today at President-elect Trump's request. He's asked me, as you just heard, to speak about the conflicts of interest and the steps he's taking. As you know, the business empire built by President-elect Trump over the years is massive, not dissimilar to the fortunes of Nelson Rockefeller when he became vice president. But at that time, no one was so concerned. President-elect Trump wants the American public to rest assured that all of his efforts are directed to pursuing the people's business and not his own. To that end, as he explained a few moments ago, he directed me and my colleagues at the law firm Morgan, Lewis & Bockius to design a structure for his business empire that would completely isolate him from the management of the company. He further instructed that we build in protections that will assure the American people the decisions he makes and the actions that he takes as president are for their benefit and not to support his financial interests. As he said, he's voluntarily taking this on. The conflicts of interest laws simply do not apply to the president or the vice president, and they are not required to separate themselves from their financial assets. The primary conflicts of interest statute, since some have questioned this, is Section 18 U.S.C. 208, and it's simply inapplicable by its terms. And this is not just our interpretation. It's Congress itself who made this clear in 1989 when it amended Section 18 U.S.C. 202 to state that, except as otherwise provided, the terms office and employee in Section 208 shall not include the president. Even so, President-elect Trump wants there to be no doubt in the minds of the American public that he is completely isolating himself from his business interests. He instructed us to take all steps realistically possible to make it clear that he is not exploiting the office of the presidency for his personal benefit.
Most of the press
He also sought the guidance of individuals who are familiar with and have worked extensively in the fields of government ethics and constitutional law.
Separate himself
Critical to the Morgan Lewis team is
from
Fred Fielding,
his business.
standing here to our side and with us today. And many of you have known him. He has served several presidents over the years, including serving as counsel to Presidents Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush, as well as serving on President George H.W. Bush's Commission on Federal Ethics Law Reform, and he also held the position of Vice Chair of the Ethics Resource Center. Mr. Fielding has been extensively involved with and approved this plan. He's here today to support the plan, and he will continue to provide guidance as the plan is implemented and as Eric, Don, along with others, take over management of the Trump Organization. I'm going to detail some of the extraordinary steps now that the President-elect is taking.
Do you want all this?
First, President-elect Trump's investments in business assets, commonly known as the Trump Organization, comprising hundreds of entities, which again, if you all go and take a look at his financial disclosure statement, the pages and pages and pages of entities, have all been or will be conveyed to a trust prior to January 20th. Here is just some of the paperwork that's taking care of those actions. Second, through the trust agreement, he has relinquished leadership and management of the Trump Organization to his sons, Don and Eric, and a longtime Trump executive, Alan Weisselberg. Together, Don, Eric, and Alan will have the authority to manage the Trump Organization and will make decisions for the duration of the presidency without any involvement whatsoever by President-elect Trump. Further, at the President-elect's direction, the trust agreement provides to ensure the Trump Organization continues to operate in accordance with the highest and legal ethics standards, an ethics advisor will be appointed to the management
The reason
team.
I want to hear some of this,
The written
Shani B,
approval of the ethics advisor
because this
will
is
be required for new deals,
what the
actions, and transactions
media, some
that
of
could
them,
could
thought
potentially
was going to be a
raise
smoking
ethics
gun.
or conflicts
He
of
wasn't going to
interest
divest.
concerns.
He's doing it voluntarily.
President-elect Trump, as well as Don, Eric,
Putting
and
his
Alan,
sons in
are
charge of
committed
the
to
businesses.
ensuring that the activities of the Trump Organization are beyond reproach and cannot be perceived to be exploitive of the office of the presidency. President-elect Trump will resign from all officer and other positions he holds with the Trump Organization entities. Further, in addition, his daughter Ivanka will have no further involvement with or management authority whatsoever with the Trump Organization. As she and Jared move their family to D.C., Ivanka will be focused on settling her children into their new homes and their new schools. The President-elect has also already disposed of all of his investments in publicly traded or easily liquidated investments. As a result, the trust will have two types of assets. First, it will hold liquid assets, cash, cash equivalents, and treasuries, and perhaps some positions in a government-approved diversified portfolio, one that is consistent with the regulations from the Office of Government Ethics. Second, the trust is going to hold his pre-existing, illiquid, but very valuable business assets, the ones that everyone here is familiar with: Trump-owned, operated, and branded golf clubs, commercial rental property, resorts, hotels, rights to royalties from pre-existing licenses of Trump marks, productions, and goods. So things like Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, all of his other business assets, 40 Wall Street, will all be in the trust. Through instructions in the trust agreement, President-elect Trump first ordered that all pending deals be terminated. This impacted more than 30 deals, many of which were set to close by the end of 2016. As you can well imagine, that caused an immediate financial loss of millions of dollars, not just for President-elect Trump, but also for Don, Ivanka, and Eric. The trust agreement, as directed by President Trump, imposes severe restrictions on new deals. No new foreign deals will be made whatsoever during the duration of President Trump's presidency. New domestic deals will be allowed, but they will go through a vigorous vetting process. The President-elect will have no role in deciding whether the Trump Organization engages in any new deal, and he will only know
some
of a
of these
deal
reporters
if he reads it
crazy
in the paper or sees
because
it on
they
TV.
keep looking for a smoking
Because
gun,
any new deal could,
and there's no
and I
there there.
emphasize could,
Not with what she's
be
outlining.
perceived as
This
causing
is
a
why I wanted to
conflict
hear
or as
some of these
exploiting the
details.
office of the presidency. New deals must be vetted with the ethics advisor, whose role will be to analyze any potential transactions for conflicts and ethics issues. The ethics advisor will be a recognized expert in the field of government experts. Again, his role will be to scrutinize the new deals and the actions, and any new deal must receive written approval. To further reinforce the wall that we are building between President-elect Trump and the Trump Organization, President-elect Trump has ordered, through his trust agreement, to sharply limit his information rights. Reports will only be available and reflect profit and loss on the company as a whole. There will be no separate business-by-business accounting. Another step that President-elect Trump has taken is he created a new position at the Trump Organization, the position of Chief Compliance Counsel, whose responsibility will be to ensure that the Trump businesses, again, are operating at the highest levels of integrity and not taking any actions that could be perceived as exploiting the office of the presidency. He has also directed that no communications of the Trump Organization, including social media accounts, will reference or be tied to President-elect Trump's role as President of the United States or the office of the presidency. In sum, all of these actions, complete relinquishment of management, no foreign deals, ethics advisor approval of deals, sharply limited information rights, will sever President-elect Trump's presidency from the Trump Organization. Some have asked questions. Why not divest? Why not just sell everything? Form a blind trust? And I'd like to turn to addressing some of those questions now. Selling, first and foremost, would not eliminate possibilities of conflicts of interest. In fact, it would exacerbate them. The Trump brand is key to the value of the Trump Organization's assets. If President-elect Trump sold his brand, he would be entitled to royalties for the use of it, and this would result in the trust retaining an interest in the brand without the ability to assure that it does not exploit the office of the presidency. Further, whatever price was paid would be subject to criticism and scrutiny. Was it too high? Is there pay for play? Was too much paid to curry favor with the president-elect? And selling his assets without the rights to the brand would greatly diminish the value of the assets and create a fire sale. President-elect Trump should not be expected to destroy the company he built. This plan offers a suitable alternative to address the concerns of the American people. And selling the entire Trump Organization isn't even feasible. Some people have suggested that the president-elect sell the business to his adult children. This would require massive third-party debt, sourced with multiple lenders whose motives and willingness to participate would be questioned and undoubtedly investigated. And if the president-elect were to finance the sale himself, he would retain the financial interests in the assets that he owns now. Some people have suggested that that President-elect Trump could bundle the assets and turn the Trump Organization into a public company. Anyone who's ever gone through this extraordinarily cumbersome and complicated
dumb
process
suggestions
knows that it is
don't
a
understand
non-starter.
business.
It is not realistic.
That's why I'm
and it
glad
would be
she's going through
inappropriate
this.
for the Trump Organization.
They have no idea.
Some people have suggested a blind trust, but you cannot have a totally blind trust with operating businesses. President Trump can't unknow he owns Trump Tower, and the press will make sure that any new developments at the Trump
That's the word of the
Organization
day.
are
You
well
can't unknow.
publicized. Further, it would be impossible to find an institutional trustee that would be competent to run the Trump Organization. The approach he is taking allows Don and Eric to preserve this great company and its iconic assets. And this approach is best from a conflicts and ethics perspective. It creates a complete separation from President-elect Trump and separates him and prevents him from participating in the business, imposes strict limits on what the trustees can do, and requires the assent of any ethics advisor to a new deal. I'm going to turn to one last topic today that has been of interest lately, called emoluments. That's a word I think we've all become familiar with and perhaps had not heard before. And we're going to describe some other actions the President-elect Trump is taking to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. Emoluments comes from the Constitution. The Constitution says officials may not accept gifts, titles of nobility, or emoluments from foreign governments with respect to their office, and that no benefit should be derived by holding an office. The so-called emoluments clause has never been interpreted, however,
Hey,
to
Jared,
apply to fair value
look that word up.
exchanges
I don't even know how
that
to
have
spell it.
absolutely nothing to do with an
Emoluments.
office holder. No one would have thought when the Constitution was written that paying your hotel bill was an emolument. Instead, it would have been thought of as a value for value exchange, not a gift, not a title, and not an emolument. But since President-elect Trump has been elected, some people want to define emoluments to cover routine business transactions, like paying
It's
for
a
hotel
salary
rooms.
for employment
They
or
suggest
office.
that the Constitution prohibits the businesses
Got
from
it.
even arm's-length transactions that the President-elect has absolutely nothing to do with and isn't even aware of. These people are wrong. This is not what the Constitution says. Paying for a hotel room is not a gift or a present, and it has nothing to do with an office. It's not an emolument. The Constitution does not require President-elect Trump to do anything here. But just like with conflicts of interests, he wants to do more than what the Constitution requires. So President-elect Trump has decided, and we are announcing today, that he is going to voluntarily donate all profits from foreign government payments made to his hotels to the United States Treasury. This way, it is the
Wow.
American people who will profit.
Wow.
In sum, I and President-elect's
Take
other
that,
advisors at Morgan
liberal
Lewis
media.
have determined the approach we've outlined today will avoid potential conflicts of interest or concerns regarding exploitation of the office of the presidency without imposing unnecessary and unreasonable losses on the president-elect and his family. We believe this structure and these steps will serve to accomplish the president-elect's desire to be isolated from his business interests and give the American people confidence that his sole business and interest is in making America great again, bringing back jobs to this country, securing our borders, and rebuilding our infrastructure. The American people were well aware of President-elect Trump's business empire and financial interests when they voted. Many people voted for him precisely because of his business success. President-elect Trump wants to bring this success to all Americans. Thank you.
Now, I wanted to hear that, folks.
My pleasure. Good.
And
I don't want to lose your notes.
Thank you very much. Here you go.
Thank you.
they're going to be taking a few questions, Shane B. Let me just wrap up. I'm going to, tomorrow, comment on what you have seen so far today. Not just Donald Trump's comments and questions and answers, but also
Right, good question. I really
what she
think
just went
that
through.
when you watch what's going on with what's happening in Washington, I was just watching, as an example, Rex Tillerson. I think it's brilliant what he's doing and what he's saying. I watched yesterday, as you know, our great senator who is going to be a great attorney general, and he was brilliant. And what people don't know is that he was a great prosecutor and attorney general in Alabama, and he was brilliant yesterday. So I really think that I think we have one of the great cabinets ever put together. And we've been hearing that from so many people. People are so happy. You know, in the case of Rex, he ran incredibly ExxonMobil. When there was a find, he would get it. When they needed something, he would be there. A friend of mine who's very, very substantial in the oil business, Harold Hamm, big supporter, he said, there's nobody in the business like Rex Tillerson. And that's what we want. That's what I want to bring to government. I want to bring the greatest people into government because we're way behind. We don't make good deals anymore. I say it all the time at speeches. We don't make good deals anymore. We make bad deals. Our trade deals are a disaster. We have hundreds of billions of dollars of losses on a yearly basis, hundreds of billions with China on trade and trade imbalance, with Japan, with Mexico, with just about everybody. We don't make good deals anymore. So we need people that are smart. We need people that are successful. And they got successful because, generally speaking, they're smart. And that's what I put. I'm very proud of the cabinet. I think they're doing very well. It's very interesting how it's going, but I think they're doing very, very well. Yeah. Sure.
Shane B.
Finally, Obamacare. I thought it was never going to be asked.
Pull them down for a moment while I let the listeners know about some of the things that have been said here so far.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. You can jump in anytime.
Thank you for being with us during this special hour of the Herman Cain Show. Many of you have heard Donald Trump set the record straight on a number of things concerning false news stories out there. He had one of his legal representatives go through a long list of unprecedented things that Donald Trump is doing to not only not give the appearance of conflict of interest, but he's gone way beyond many of the steps that he's even required to do. And I'm going to talk more about some of those tomorrow. For example, to leave no shadow of a doubt of his foreign investments, any profits generated will go to the United States Treasury and benefit the American people. That's unprecedented. In order to not give the media fodder to create false stories and to go chasing, claiming conflicts of interest. This list of things that lawyer went through is unbelievable. And second, the way that he is restructuring his business to be run by his 2 adult sons is also the right way to go. And she also refuted some of the other suggestions coming from people who probably didn't know what they were talking about as to other things that he could have done, like put it in a blind trust. And her greatest line was, how do you unknow something to put it in a blind trust? You can't do that. That's not feasible. So we're going to talk more tomorrow about some of the things that you've heard here today from this press conference. And I believe that your local radio station is going to return to it momentarily. But this is what a good friend of mine used to say about giving somebody a flat basketball. Take all the air out of it and give them the ball, because that's exactly what Donald Trump has done. He also said, if you don't give them a rabbit, they're going to make up some rabbits. And I got to tell you, they don't have a lot of rabbits that they can make up relative to conflict of interest. You've been listening to this special hour of the Herman Cain Show. We'll be back tomorrow at our usual time. Thank you for listening, and we hope that you learned something. I know I did. Thanks, live streamers. Join us again tomorrow at the same time, 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll be streaming again live right here on the Herman Cain Show. Have a great day.